Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user Kumquatinator. I, 32 male, found out my partner, 32 female, cheated on me while she was away on holiday. She doesn't know that I know. How do I navigate this? So, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for 7 years now. We've had our ups and downs and have started to go to couples therapy, and we're still going, trying to figure out our relationship. We're both at a point of our lives where we've pressed the F it button and chased our dreams. With that, there's been talk of her moving to London. It's something that came up a few years ago, and we've both thought maybe we'd try a long-distance relationship to see how we go when that time does come. Basically, in November she graduated uni and gifted herself a little dance workshop in Africa for all her efforts in graduating, to which I've been there in some of her most hardest times. She left for the camp in December and I went to meet her there in January. And we had a lovely time and everything was okay, but things did feel a bit off. The usual things, someone constantly calling her phone, walking off to have chats, shady with messaging. I also told her that this person was calling and she said she'd call her back. To my surprise, I did some digging and that her was actually a him. I'll call him K for now. She's been pretty open with her travels and about how some men did try and hit on her, so with that transparency, I didn't think much of it. Fast forward to March, and she ended up flying back out there as she's got some grant funding for work. My alarm bells weren't ringing, but I had a feeling something might be happening. While she was there, we tried to keep in contact, so my guard was lowered for that. She came back different and somewhat disappointed, as she had a very underwhelming experience. She felt lonely and somewhat mothering to some of her friends she made there. This morning, we woke up, she went to the toilet and I turned her phone alarm off, to which I saw the message from Kay saying how much he loved and missed her. Again, my alarm bells went off. Not my proudest moment, but I needed some clarity because of this feeling of betrayal, a feeling I've had before with a previous girlfriend who slept with a dear friend of mine. So I went to her laptop while she was out and I saw the messages. A lot of messages and pictures between the two of their love and their long-distance relationship. The funny thing is, she found out Kay has a wife and a daughter, and one of Kay's replies were about how he was mad at her for asking his friends if he was seeing other women, and how when she was there, she felt like an afterthought as he didn't show up to things, give her attention, or care that she was there. Which now makes sense why she felt lonely. Both times she came back with thrush, which was a bit of a red flag, as well as straight away told me to put on a condom as she was getting surgery for a coil, which was another flag as I guess she didn't want to give me an STI, I suppose. I now have screenshots of the messages, so I'm fairly certain about what I saw. I feel hurt, confused, and unsure how best to approach this conversation with her. Part of me wants to understand what happened before jumping to conclusions, but I'm also struggling with a sense of betrayal. How do you suggest navigating this situation? Has anyone dealt with something similar? And what approach helped you communicate effectively while still respecting your own boundaries? Well, Opie, I gotta say, I don't understand what you're struggling with right here. You saw the messages. You saw what he wrote. You saw what she wrote. You've already raised like 3 different red flags here, and you want to have a conversation about this and navigate this? What are you talking about? The only thing you need to navigate is how do you get away from her as quickly and as clean as possible? Go get tested, first of all. If you have any joint accounts, separate them. If you're on a lease, talk to your landlord to see what you can do about getting out of it. There is nothing to save here, OP, so you might as well save money and not pay for more couples counseling. With the proof that you have, you can know for sure that at a minimum, she's having an emotional affair, which is big enough to just end the relationship right away. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Lamb's English says, quote, "And what approach helped you communicate effectively while still respecting your own boundaries?" End quote. What are you talking about? She's had a whole ass side man she's been effing. Kick her out. CatLover4851 says, I could not continue in a relationship with a cheating girlfriend or boyfriend. It sounds like you are both starting to move in different directions anyway. I would end it. Thrush is caused by many possible reasons, not generally sexually transmitted. Jeroclo says, confront her, but make your decision before the conversation. Don't let her influence your decision because she will probably gaslight you. I say that because sometimes it gives you peace if you know why she did it and how long it's going on. My decision would be kick her out, considering you were already in couples therapy and you wanted a long-distance relationship. That won't work. And contact the wife of K and tell her what you know. Respond Opposite says, buddy, if you're at the point where you're in couples therapy and she's effing other man, it's over. Just leave. And Joe Grogan 2022 says, I would probably confront her with her cheating and ask what you did to cause her infidelity and seek to understand why she's emotionally bankrupt with you. And Opie responds, why has this happened twice in my life now? Ha! I might as well become a monk. Opie's edit. Thank you all for the comments. Sorry for the slow reply. Had to shoot off for work, but didn't expect to have so many comments. First off, I guess I didn't explain myself too well here. I know I'm going to leave her, knowing that I can never trust her again, as well as her lying to my face, reassuring that nothing ever happened in her time in Africa is a no-go for me. She knew about my past relationship and my feelings on this, so I knew the moment I read these messages, it confirmed everything and I know I have to leave. I guess the advice I was wanting was to figure out how to end this all. I guess I need help with 1. How and when should I bring this up? Do I tell her I went through her phone after having the same feeling I had in my previous relationship? Do I tell her one of her African friends messaged me privately and said all this to me? 2. When should I bring this up? Tonight? Or should I wait until Thursday as we have therapy? 3. We have a complex friendship group as I'm really close with her brother and family, so I don't necessarily want to ruin my friendship with her brother. Should I tell her family what she did via message? 4. Should I post this announcement on Instagram? It might look bad on my part to announce this, but I also don't want her to tarnish my name. I don't think she would, but with everything I've read from her exchanges, I don't know what to think. Side note, she lives in my house, so yes, she will be kicked out as soon as we have this difficult conversation. I just want to make sure everything goes clean. I'm trying to be patient and take the necessary steps like the Count of Monte Cristo. Well, I think the community gave OP the right advice at the beginning, but all of these questions that OP has, he doesn't need to go through all of that. In my opinion, it's simple. You just tell her you're done, you kick her out, you cancel therapy. If you want to tell the brother, go ahead and tell them that you'd like to keep the friendship. That's it. And regardless of how the Count of Monte Cristo went about things, he decided to do something because he had self-respect and was wronged. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. First off, I just want to say thank you for all those who read and commented on my situation. Some posts were more helpful than others, but I appreciate the responses regardless, so thank you. As for things now, they're a lot better. Still barely sleeping, but I'm feeling more comfortable with myself and my situation. I confronted her. She began to lie about knowing the guy, to we're acquaintances, to I've met him only a few times, to we're just friends, to we kissed, to I wasn't sure about us, I thought he might be boyfriend material, to finally, yes, I did F him. Took her a while to finally confess, but she finally did. Not sure if it's the entire truth, but at least there's admission. I've kicked her out of the house and she's staying with a friend. I've asked her to get her stuff out in the next 2 weeks, which she's slowly doing. I've messaged all the people that need to know and holy hell, I'm feeling loved by everyone. Her family have reached out to me and I to them, asking them to make sure to check in on her and take care of her as I can no longer do it for the sake of my own health and protection. Her family have said they were sorry, so it seems like she's being truthful there. But I'm interested to hear what she says to her friends. I've told my friends the honest truth and they've showered me with love and hate for her. Oddly enough though, I don't feel too much hate this time around. More sorry and sad for her because of her actions. She's a lot worse off now than where she was when we first met. I don't think she's a good person who's made some bad decisions. She's been trying to call me, which I haven't been picking up, and has been messaging me about house-related things, all peppered in with, "I feel like I'm missing a part of myself. I really miss you. I know you shouldn't feel sorry for me, but," etc. Thursdays were our couples counseling days, and she messaged me asking if I was going, messaging, "It would be best for both of us to go, but completely understand if you don't want to go." I'm thinking of skipping it as I feel like it's too early to go see here, but would love to hear your thoughts. She was my best friend for those 7, almost 8 years, so it's difficult to see her struggle and see this side of sadness, guilt, and regret from. I do hope she gets better, but for the most part, I need to look after myself, stay busy with my creativity and work, and keep in contact with my friends and family. Thanks again to all of you who commented and read this, and if you have any advice on how to handle these next steps, please let me know. Thanks again, smiley face. Well, the first thing you gotta do, and like I said before, cancel your couples therapy. If she needs professional help, she can pay for it herself. If you need professional help, it should be just for you. That is the first step, OP. Then the rest is just up to you. In the meantime, here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Gushed Star. My 23 male boyfriend gets a panic attack every time I ask him to pick up after himself. 22 female. Am I the problem? I've been living with my boyfriend, 23 male, for almost a year now. I've noticed that every time I slightly disagree with him or ask him to not leave food out all night, he gets upset to the point that he gets a panic attack or says he doesn't feel safe around me, 22 female. At first, I wouldn't mind too much and would just remind him to pick up or put things away, especially when it comes to food, because I get worried about our cat or bugs. At first, he would be like, "Oh, sorry," and put it away or clean up, but now he gets so upset he starts to get a panic attack or starts breathing heavily around me. I've told him before that it would be nice for him to pick up without me having to ask him. If there's a stain on the floor or residue of food from cooking on the walls, he will leave it until I either clean it up myself or ask him. After asking so many times, I find myself getting more and more upset, especially when he flips it around that he doesn't feel safe around me. It feels poorly and honestly at times very manipulative. I do understand I'm a very monotoned person. I mean, I am ENTJ, extroverted, intuitive, thinking, judging, if that helps, MBTI. I've tried to use the soft tone many times, but now it's getting to the point where I'm getting stepped over like a floor mat. He also claims to be the cleanest out of his family, but I don't think that's true because I notice when he cleans, it can be half done, or maybe I'm just more a strict cleaner. Am I too rough on him, or is he using it as an excuse to hurt my feelings and get away with not doing things without being asked? How can I overcome this with him? Well, Loopy, first of all, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I think this guy is taking weaponized incompetence to the next level. Like, seriously? Getting a panic attack, breathing heavily, or feeling unsafe because somebody's asking you to pick up your crap or clean up after yourself? Dude, you're a 23-year-old man, not a 2-year-old toddler. OP, you're not his mom. You're his girlfriend. You're his partner. You're his equal. You shouldn't be cleaning up after him. If he can't deal with this crap, he either needs to go to therapy or move out of the apartment. This is not something you need to overcome with him. This is something he needs to get over or work on. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Monsterosa Deliciosa says, he's manipulating you. The "I don't feel safe around you" line is meant to make you feel like an abuser for asking him to tidy up after himself. Beth says, you are too young to be stuck in a relationship with someone who does not pick up after themselves and shifts the blame to you instead of being accountable for their actions. Better men exist out there. Make your relationship choices wisely, or else this will be your life forever. And Dopey responds, I've honestly had this thought too. In other aspects, we do well together, but once it comes to a disagreement, he becomes really difficult to talk to. Either he gets super overwhelmed really fast, talks super fast to the point I get overwhelmed, or paces around. He isn't violent, but I've been in a DV relationship before, and things like this often scare me fast really quick. I've also mentioned them to him. He has gotten a bit better, but very little bit. That's why now I kind of choose to ignore him or leave the room or put earbuds on. Maybe that's not healthy, but I do not know what else to do without getting into an argument or getting super overwhelmed to the point where I typically apologize first. QDQY says he's weaponizing feeling safe and panic attacks to avoid being accountable. He's either mentally ill or completely incompetent, or both. And Dopey responds, I've tried to get him to try mental professional help, but it didn't really go anywhere, nor did the sessions continue. And Quartz636 says, a panic attack, laughing emoji, that's one I've not heard before to get out of tidying up after yourself. Probably because it's clearly a load of BS. I would have laughed him out of the floor if he was my boyfriend and try that. Spoiler OP, he's a lazy ass who has figured out saying he's having a panic attack and doesn't feel safe, gets you to leave him alone and lets him get away with being effing useless. Well, the community's definitely calling out the boyfriend and OP is starting to see it. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thank you so much for everyone's advice and feedback. I've decided to stand my ground and take space until any real change is given, or well, until we break up. There's a lot of comments that I haven't been able to respond to yet, but just for some clarity, I'm not sure if it's a childhood trauma or some sort of PTSD trigger. He says I talk meanly to him, which to be quite honest, sometimes I do argue or raise my tone. I've apologized for that because that is never the person I want to be. But then again, step into my shoes. He also says I scold him like a parent, but to be frankly honest, I clean up after him like a parent too, so I don't see that as a fair argument. He has a job and I pay for the car. He pays for the housing because it's only fair with how much we share it. He pays for most dates and I pay for groceries for the home. He said that I nitpick what he does and do not appreciate when he does clean. I'm not sure how entirely true that is either, because when things are done, I always note to show appreciation. He has sincerely apologized to me, and I told him most of what the comments said, without mentioning the thread of course, and stood my ground. Will I be continuing to date him? Will I kick him out or leave? I'm honestly not sure. I know there will be a lot of backlash from several people about not leaving right away, and I understand. I've been on the other side of this table, giving the advice. But sometimes it is much easier than it sounds. I am out of options until he can 1. Get his act together, or 2. I save up to live on my own. Those are the only two. No such thing as living with peers or family because I do not want to put myself in that environment. Regardless, I will figure it out like I always do. Thank you guys again, seriously, especially the older women. Real eye-opener, and quite honest, it is quite terrifying to think of being stuck in this pattern again. I am also going to reach out to a therapist to help me recognize these patterns faster so I do not repeat this experience. Well, it'll be good for you for talking to him. You put everything you had to say on the table and you've got a plan moving forward. So here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Fight Mongoose Fight. Fair evaders should probably be more polite. My city has a decent commuter rail system. I live near the first stop coming from downtown on a line that goes to a suburb that is home to a ton of Uber Eats or DoorDash gig workers. They ride the train in, work in the city, and then ride the train back. The rail operator had to add multiple bike cars as a result. Train cars, where the lower level is almost entirely for bikes. In general, a lot of them don't behave particularly well on the trains, and they're notorious for never paying their fare, which is done by tapping a fare card on readers set up throughout all the stations. I'm riding home one day and happened to be on one of the bike cars, filled to capacity with e-bikes and their very loud owners. As we're approaching my station, there's a sudden stampede towards me from the far end of the car. Dozens of young men, all yelling and pushing, frantically moving towards the back of the car because a fare inspector has appeared and they're running from her. They start shoving and jostling those of us waiting at the door, and their plan becomes apparent. They're going to jump out at the station, tap their fare cards, and get back on with a technically valid ticket. As they're shoving me, I decide to make it a bit harder. What they didn't know is that there are only 2 fare readers on the part of the platform where we're stopping, and the closest one has been down for days. The doors open. As they all crash towards the near one, I walked directly to the slightly further one and I put it into override mode. This gives the option to override preset fares for frequent trips plus some other options, and it takes the card reader itself offline until you pick a mode. It's not often used and most people aren't familiar with it. It's just a couple button presses to turn it off, but you have to read the screen and pay attention. The pack comes roaring over to the machine, still yelling and pushing, but because they're all jamming their cards at it at once and fighting for position, no one even comes close to figuring out why it's not working. Not one of them manages to tap successfully, and after about 15 to 20 seconds of this, the train is getting ready to leave. Most of them give up and run back on straight into the arms of the waiting fare inspector because they can't leave their e-bikes. But 7 or 8 don't make it back. The train pulls away as they start chasing it down the platform, still screaming. I like to think their bikes ride that train forever. And this OP is so my type of revenge. Thank you so much for sharing, I loved it. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.